Hi, I'm Daniel, and I rewatched the second season of The Amazing World of Gumball. A couple months ago, I ranked the episode of season 1, and that was a reveal that made me excited and wanted to continue doing this for at least another season or two. And this season of 48-minute episodes instead of 36, so we like keep it younger. While season 1 the show's weakest season, this feels one of the less consistent seasons that are sometimes vastly improving on it, and sometimes doing more of the same. The show gets substantially weirder and more meta each season, so can feel that effect in episodes, but it still comes off like a regular kid show all the time, which is still good. All but one episode here is entirely serviceable as a 6 out of 10 or above. Although I did find that compared to last season, the weaker episodes were more dull and less interesting to talk about. At the same time, this season is filled with many amazing episodes that are truly special. I noticed the second half of the season was a lot stronger, with the show going from one establishing its identity. While this season as a whole I wouldn't call peak Gumball, a lot of the episodes are, with many great and amazing I just can't see you rewatching. So, what do I consider the best and worst episodes of Gumball Season 2? 40, The Hero. This episode, I was wondering if I overhated it in the past, but not really. It isn't irredeemable with Richard's song being good in a vacuum, but everything around it fails the episode that makes me like most of his family, aside from maybe Darwin. The conceit of this episode doesn't work when Gumball and Darwin weren't that mean and just neutrally sharing stories about Richard. But it's enough for Nicole and Anais to overreact. Isn't Anais supposed to be the reasonable one? Why is she so invested in this? The family cruelty, instead of being paid comedic the prank in another episode in this season, The Fridge, that I'll get to, it's just showing Gumball and Darwin struggle to give out money that isn't pleasant to watch. They also start coming off far more negative towards Richard only later in the episode, in a way they normally aren't. This just feels very tonally and character-wise not this show. Most of the episode feels barely even about Richard anymore, until Darwin tries to manufacture him saving them, and Gumball's annoying sarcastic comments gets insufferable here rather than fun like it is almost every other time. The fact that Richard gets so many better episodes makes his attempt at any heart with giving to comedy fail so hard compared to every episode. Even when you accept this concept as cartoon logic and not parental abuse, it's still mean-spirited to watch and how it's presented. Not without a few pros, this is probably the worst episode of the show. Yucca nothing else in this season was anywhere close. 39, The Boombox. This might be the most frustrating ending ever, with Dukes talking, while having them turn the switch back. This has some great comedy in the first half, with them dumbing over people, the misunderstanding that Misty and me retired, and the boombox sounds go hard musically. It's just the plot around Grobblefest being so dull and a waste of time. This is just going through the beats of a Gumball and Darwin help psycho episode, with Duke never doing anything interesting. This feels like it went nowhere and then it just ends. One of the seasons, and maybe the show as a whole, weaker episodes. 38, The Phone. This is another variant of the show before the internet took over it, with the old phone used to show phone addiction. However, unlike most episodes, this comes within a lame way that isn't fully in on the joke, and doesn't do much with the phone itself. The outro twist was well brought off, it feels a bit of a way to add a climax, but the real life video game with real life circular concept. Also, that joke when Mr. Small couldn't one with the whole universe was funny, in an ultimately beyond episode. 37, The Skull. Kate is one of the more hit or miss characters, despite me liking the morph abilities he has. Mainly as I don't really like lying stories, especially after the sock last season set a high precedent for them. The fake out at the end makes me watching this last act feel more pointless, and the comedy just isn't on point here I guess most of the season. It also doesn't resolve the story from a character perspective with Caitlin trying to be their friend and nothing coming of that. Another fine but weak episode. 36, The Photo. As the episode paired up with the hero, it's a massive improvement, but still in the bottom 5. Gumball trying to get a good score of photos almost a good premise, but one that gets repetitive quickly, with Gumball trying to get a more photogenic face. I like the jokes about Iron's perfection and Banana Jones' failed attempt to revenge, but both those characters have been done better in other episodes, some this season, so it isn't really enough to lift this episode. 35, The Colossus. One of the more forgettable episodes, or one of the more forgettable characters, Although this episode is about how uninteresting he is, and I like Hector, having his mother be a witch is a clever idea, and it's a decent pinch for parenting, with the twist that it's preventing a giant from rampaging. At the same time, that climax was quite predictable to get there. The comic being written over the good gag in the otherwise fine episode, but not quite what the one saying called good yet. 34, The Storm. I guess this has more interesting drama than most of your ranked episodes, and used a bit more to talk about with the relationship rumours and annoyance at the perfect couple. At the same time, I don't like Carmen here, and I'm not rooting for them to get back together. I like parts of this story and comedy. You like how the first plan Gumball thinks of is dressed up as a girl to get with Iron to make Carmen jealous, and there's other good jokes here. It's just an execution weak story, with Sammy becoming a storm cloud and suddenly that's the climax. I think the storm cloud thing was done better in a regular show. This doesn't really work as a whole in my opinion, although it has its moments I understand why it will be more liked. 33, The Watch. This is a decent episode of them being gifted a family heirloom that neither of them want and using it and trying to get it back. The hijacks just don't come off that interesting here. You can tell it's barely going anywhere, so just add that chase at the end to drag the episode out. It's fine, but one with very little to talk about. 32, The Virus. An episode where the 0.1% of germs that survives takes revenge. It makes sense why Terry is an underused character, but this plot around germs can be fun, especially with this germ model used also a computer virus. The first half of Gumball Down making fun of Terry is funny, and the taking over of every extra advice to kill everyone reminds me of the movie Y2K. The movie as a whole isn't very good, but that scene itself is. The ending is just a bit too abrupt to stop this really good episode and give it just okay. 31, The Dream. I really like how this opening scene shows off how dreams feel right in the moment but so often in many ways. Gumball being petty around the dream just makes sense for him, and Anna uses therapy trying to figure out what a dream means, failing as that's where you get for trying to apply rational solution to an irrational problem is really funny. The dreamscape mind being traversed is also creative, and how annoying Gumball is just a dream mind at the end is really funny. I just didn't like the Blu-ray bit, and this got repetitive very quickly. It's still probably the point where I'll start to call this episode good. 30, The Bumpkin. The opening scene is such an iconic Gumball bit, with that whole why do you work exchange as Richard driving him to school. I like how Gumball wants to isolate him for technology, and the rest of the Watsons not liking it. And this has some funny jokes like the body parts arguing after eating dirt. This just didn't do much as a spotlight episode for Idaho. And there's another this season with a weaker climax. Although some parts of the car chase were a bit fun, good episode, but not a particularly interesting one. 29, The Bet. The Piotr Bobber being the personal CA for a day, and the hijinks that come from that just work. I like the comedy around the misunderstanding instructions, and the constant back and forth between Gumball abusing his power, and Darren not liking this and wanting to help him instead. The ending battle was very fun and climactic, if not as good as the rest of the episode. Although the youngest 10 seconds ever during a bomb time was very funny. A pattern you can determine from this ranking is that Spotlight and Warner student characters often rank low. That formula can come off very hit or miss, but this is one of the better ones. 28, The Sidekick. Part of this feels like a generic plot that happens out of nowhere, for Darren the Sun not like being a sidekick and being so angry about it. But this is also a very funny episode. Tobias saying sorry multiple times cut together like that is very funny, and the way it cuts to "you stole his mom" might be some of the season's best jokes. I'll mention it to you here, but the dynamic between Gumball and Darwin is funny when Darwin is equally petty, and it makes for a fun climax to watch. I also like the inclusion of Darwin being more of a guardian than a sidekick, as a way to at least partly resolve this conflict. Overall, just a very good episode. 27, Halloween. Remember when the Darwin Curry kiss was random for several seasons of the show? Anyway, this is one of the few episodes of the show to not have a dare in the title, which is weird for a regular Yen Halloween episode. This is solid, and I like the idea around drinking a potion to see ghosts, but not much happens after they become ghosts and party, until the plot starts in the last few minutes with the remembering and the ease exists. I do quite like the atmosphere of this episode, and the attempt at more supernatural high stakes, but it's just good. 26, The Castle. The opening showing the excitement around the weekend and the rest day vibes come off very relatable and just charming. The rest of the episodes get repetitive and could be more funny. Harold feels distracted different how he's later seasons, and this house invasion making Richard need to say go doesn't go much interesting. At the same time, the ending having Nicole barge in goes hard and makes it a higher tone episode she was absent in. A strong start and end, but a weak middle making this just a good episode. 25. The Fridge. Feels like an equivalent of last season's The Easiest for Nicole in that fits her character, but comes off far more mean-spirited and I like using her worst traits. This might have to disqualify Nicole from those best cartoon mum lists. Although it's far better than The Atheist in giving Nicole an arc and having to realise she was in the wrong for her toxic winning mentality. I like how the reward system was the chart that turned this family apart. And Gumball realising this and trying to oppose that is interesting. The episode is also pretty fun with that paintball climax being a great way to play the episode's themes with some good battle scenes. 24. The Fakers. I like how equally petty Gumball and Darwin get when they are both mad at each other, with an annoyed Anais and drugged up Richard stuck in the middle. Their beef is just very fun to watch the back and forth on, and I like how Anais helps them make up through the cupcake exercise. The climax of them splitting up to clean the house to Nicole and get Richard all at once is quite fun. The episode had its weaker moments, with how Richard not often being that funny, but it's a very good episode. 23. The Night. I really like the formula of Gumball trying to get the respect of older man, although not as good as Mr. Robinson episodes. I also like how Gumball and Penny's relationship is portrayed here, with the Penny's more sarcastic traits shown, and Gumball comes off so genuine in his wacky schemes here. Tobias the Knight is funny in how neither care about him, and I like the ending turn the Watsons against Patrick to flip it. An episode where yet I find wrong with it just doesn't stand out that much. 22. The Flower. The better animation really gets to stand out in this episode, with the odd lighting and all this ghost stuff. I like this supernatural play on how jealousy manifests, which was also Darwin's vote for planting the idea of Penny and Yesi. They needed the cousins thing because they weren't able to say Yesi is gay yet, but I liked how that was still implied in the line does y'all think you'll know about me Gumball. Anyway, I like how Gumball's jealousy betrayed as literally a separate entity possessing him and the fighting from that. More could have been done with Penny chases more than just the ending gag, but good episode with a fun sequence at the end. 21. The Yimit. This probably feels the are those growing up and now relating a call type post that happen for every cartoon. But I remember even when younger this whole episode came off as them harassing Nicole until she cracks. I like some of these more simplistic relatable childhood conflicts that was more prevalent in the early seasons. And just watching this chaos unfold from that. I like the different plots and how Anais is being with the family's trouble and the whole supermarket trick animated sequence was cool. The final climax was also very intense and was a good ending. Some parts of the episode are underdeveloped and weak in a couple scenes, but a good episode that just missed out on the upper half. 20. The Internet. I know we don't like in media when internet memes are things that aren't even embarrassing, and how it's often played entirely straight in the 2010s, but this comes off more like it's trying to be extra wacky here. I like a lot of jokes here like Tobias slowly moving in front of the screen, and Darwin's song. Having the internet being a AI being who's portrayed as pathetic is a clever idea. This resolved from the conflict will hug it out ending is funny. In this started episode that holds up pretty well. 19. The Apology. It's weird how this refers to them as good children for the sake of the episode's plot, despite them causing a true problem in half the season's episodes. Anyway, I like Miss Sirian's pettiness trying to get them into trouble, and the antics that come from that. Gumball and Darwin the ending money changing people in just a minute is funny, alongside Gumball's big speech against fighting. The ending is perhaps a bit abrupt, but I like how their conflict resolves in a nice way, with them trying to save Miss Sirian's job, and her seeing what they did. 18. The Pony. Getting early Rob screen time hits different now. I want to continue these Gumball rankings just to talk about Rob more. Anyway, I like seeing Gumball down dedication to do something with Anais, even if it means watching a bad movie, although it should have been a mockbuster parody and not intended to be My Little Pony. This would have been 2012, they should have known Friendship and Magic was good by now. The obstacles on their way home is just very funny, like how hard it is to rent the movie and push it through an invisible force field. Jokes like Richard's inner thought on parenting and throwing Mrs. Moore in the recycling bin are so funny here. I wouldn't quite call it on season's best yet, but we're onto the great episodes. 17. The Yeson. A fun detention prison episode, Part of me wishes they kept up the black and white style for more than just the song, because it's a cool aesthetic. Speaking of, that's a great song that reminds me of Chainsaw Me from Phineas and Ferb. It's funny how eating books to gain knowledge worked, but it was the wrong books, and how obvious their cheating was. I also just love the tropes that jam with the big escape and all around it in this wrong episode. 16, The Promise. Not even the best Banana Joe episode this season, but it's still good to see episodes when he has more character than just a funny dancing banana. This is another way I like the back and forth of Gumball and Darwin, with me liking their battle of guilt and selfishness, and Darwin brainwashing her memories at Banana Joe Twitter is very funny. This has an interesting conflict, with this game being more about them spending time together as part of the hype. I like this angle added to them consuming the release. It adds a strong core to this, while they leave Banana Joe to die. Many seem to not like this episode, and I could have resolved a bit better, but it doesn't matter when it's so funny. 15, The Tag, the only Mr. Robinson episode this season, and it's funny seeing his neighbour beef against Richard, leading to both placed under house arrest. The pranks don't have fun, and I like how it's escalates in funny ways with them bonding or wearing ties while being unemployed, and how the twist is foreshadowed. This is one of the early episodes that Gumball and Downward didn't need to be a focus of, as this was still setting into being an ensemble show, but they're still good here. 14, The World. This is one of the season's 2 anthology episodes that became common, and while the week or two, this feels like the one that's really stretching the show's limitations in great ways. It is all about the objects, and sometimes creatures, that are alive across Elmore. This has such a range of moments I don't know what's going to happen next. The opening song is really strong, and I agree all the bits that really capture Gumball's random sane energy really well. The bacteria song, the conversation between the bus stop and the mailbox, and the dramatic war faced by fries as they get eaten. It's missing a bigger top tier moment to crack the top 10, but it's still really very timed the whole way through. 13, The Authority. Internally, this opening scene with the constant every time Richard tries to make a new decision is how I deal with any practical problem. That gag is just so funny every time it's repeated, and I like this message about needing to learn through the errors. It's very upfront about the fault being caused by Grandma Jojo's poor parenting, making them unable to make decisions on their own. The wacky way this plot develops with conditioning them to become dumb, and the ending stuck in a moving car needing their memories to help them is great. The episode also has your funny jokes, like the Don't Worry it's a very good hospital bit, making it among the season's best that definitely would have made it into the top 10 last season. 12, Christmas. Along with Halloween, this is the other episode without a day in the title. Both probably without any foresight if they made any other holiday specials. Anyway, this is more of a regular Christmas special than you would expect from Gumball. Granted, it still involves them hitting a homie's mum with a car who they believe to be Santa, so not entirely paid straight. Even so, I just love Christmas specials when they are done right. Christmas Counts is a great song that is funny, but also you can feel the stakes of it. I like the running gag of Richard trying to do good deeds, and the whole sad Christmas backstory is just nice. That whole climax is very fun and likeable for me. In this just very great episode, I effing the remote. This is a classic for a reason. With this great plot, the family having a showman at the same time, leading to a young fight over who gets the remote. The comedy is funny, especially the space mission to the TV to change Charles Manley being impossible. This story is also engaging, with the plan to buy another remote and this big stand-up had between them. The whole episode is great, but that ending really makes it so amazing with this reveal. I like how it successfully misleads Annie's role in the episode, with destroying the remote for their own good being believable, which adds a dramatic weight to when it's revealed with all these flashbacks. The dramatic music playing, but ends with a Daisy theme, is so spectacularly executed. It's a shame this couldn't make the top 10. 10, the finale. I really like this plot with the consequence of the actions catching up with them, and the whole meta angle breaking down the episode structure where everything resets after every episode. This was and still is such a strong fourth wall break. It's also such a fun episode with the hijinks they get into. Mainly in the climax where they make more points to try and make it go away. The way the episode cuts off like that needed to be implied is such a great meta conclusion. I'm glad the show continued, but imagine if it really ended here. A very strong episode, and all of this top 10 or something entire yet being someone's favourite. 9, The Job. I feel just a bit like I've seen this too many times, while others I've watched shows well feeling that way, but it's still amazing and one of Gumball's most talked about episodes for a reason. It's a simple fourth wall breaker Richard getting a job destroying the world, but it's so fun to watch. It could do without needing Gumball down to give us some pizzas that comes off as forcing them to a bigger role, but it doesn't matter because it's funny. And I also like Nicole's whole worry about this. This episode mainly becomes peak in the climax. Yari saying tearing apart the fabric of the universe is not this Miss offense is a top tier line. The constant shifting between forms is very cool and just really intense with the music and the editing. The drama of the CA concept really elevates this as one of the show's best strengths. 8. The voice. Just the way Gumball and Darwin use Elmo Pius is funny. With them doubling down on an argument after being proven wrong, complaining about others, before just blocking everyone who annoys them. I enjoy how Darwin is equally in on this. The plot around being threatened by someone they ignored, which could be anyone, is interesting. For as much fun comedy this episode has, the mysterious voice is actually really threatening, especially near the end of the episode. The cinematography feels very enhanced and effective here with the point of view angles and how the camera shakes. It also takes its time getting there with how funny these antics are, like Tobias feeling a psychopath in his own life, and Ian always apologising. This gets you off from many of the psychopaths here. If I had to say something against it, I remember I missed that William's thoughts were internal, which makes sense that he asked me a twist, but it could have been more evidently shown. The ending is also slightly abrupt, but otherwise one of the season's best that feels weird to rank only 8th. 7. The tape. Darwin trying to say a full sentence and constantly getting it wrong is so relatable to recording. I wanted to do a bit there where I didn't record over and I got it wrong, but I actually said that sentence properly the first time. Anyway, this is the show's first anthology, and it's a great start to them. I like the opening introducing the cast of Amazing World of no one's gonna watch that. This episode is just constantly funny and creative, with the nature documentary, Carrie's 3D jump scare, whatever Darius is doing. The baby Annihilator turn to Annihilator ad. So many really memorable great scenes. Gumball attempting to copy Ocho's power only to turn into a tank is just so funny. Alongside Darwin's deep thinking, and the whole comedy around filming Ninja George too, it's basically an extended version of I Ate on a Train scene from last season. This just captures a childhood feeling when trying to film a video so well, and is full of so many great comedy moments from several characters. This is an episode I'll never get tired of rewatching, although parts are for the episodes paired up to, which also made the top 7, that I'll get to soon. 6. The banana. This is the Gumball penance that I love coming in true force, with him making an issue out of something Darwin didn't have. Him teaching Darwin a thirst for justice and pushing him to be worse is so fun to watch for the interactions here. While Banana Joe doesn't always work for me in later seasons, this and The Promise are great at making him funny but also come off realistically. I like his genuine apology for what he didn't do and his rage at the end. Their feud makes a really fun plot, and that big dramatic music after walking to his yacht is such an amazing scene. While I remember liking this episode, this is certainly one I forgot how amazing it was. 5. The Treasure. A great mystery episode when we young when all three of the Watson siblings work together, with Anna easy in the search for where this money went to. There's good jokes like the hypnotist bit, but this is mainly so made for the atmosphere, which was generally something season 2 improves on a lot. I like the reveal and how it's all pieced together across the episode. This is fun to watch unfold and get half hour ending that really works. Even with a joke at the end I could number out, but it doesn't kill the emotion as much as you think. Another amazing episode, but the best focusing on this trio is the one I'll talk about next. 4. The Pian. I love how this episode just about these characters planning something and thinking of all the ways it could go wrong. Like I just said with the treasure, I really like the dynamic of Gumball, Down and Annie's working together, and just comedically paying off each other so well. Each part of the plan getting expanded is so fun, and just feels high stakes despite the only imagining scenarios. It's also very funny like Gumball fighting his past self, and all the bits they have to redo. The story's engaging to watch, and it's just satisfying when Gumball says this planet finally feel proof with that music. That twist should feel underwhelming and make it so pointless, but it doesn't as getting there is so fun. And that's even with knowing the twist from dozens of times we watch this. For as amazing as this whole top 10 is, this top 4 is fully on peak Gumball in terms of comedy and something more. 3. The Sweaters. This and the tape is such a spectacular half hour together, with this episode specifically growing with me a lot over the years. Now I appreciate the meta handling of these tropes more. I just love how this episode goes, with Gumball and Dan being open about not being hardcore to avoid that feel happening, only for it to pay out regularly from everyone around them anyway. The stereotypes of these new characters are just so amusing to me in their art style, movement, and personality. That guy who looks like Omni-Man boasting outside their house is just so out there as funny. This being a tennis match instead of a fight and them not caring about it is such a fun subversion of this typical plot, with how Pepsi unearned them earning their respect comes off as. Across the whole episode it's incredibly funny, yet Gumball's dramatic defense when he's called to the principal's office. And they listen to your heart, with his heart saying, yeah, it's raining all on these guys and you're forever in shame. This fighting is top notch on peak Gumball as at all time for a show that I just aggressively love. One thing is that Will serves a new student here, where it shows in previous episodes this season. Was this meant to be close to the start of the season, or did they just take a sign not to add to the sidecast area? 2. The words. An amazing episode just full of iconic scenes that makes people come back to it as an episode I knew of Rankaye. It's such a fitting plot for Darren's character, often struggling to speak his mind, but him ultimately going too far with that. The comedy around this setup is constantly just very funny. I like how he essentially becomes Gumball in the way he argues with and criticises people with funny insults. There's also used some interesting formats to tell the story, with 2 great songs, with one being a big group number, and one a genuinely intense rain song that was cut off too short. The video game fight scene is very creative and fun to throw insults at each other. This could have easily fallen off from the tree with the end joke implying that, but this effectively showed how hurtful words can be when used in response to VA. A brilliant episode always felt that I thought would be number 1, but when looking at it, I had to give the edge to another. 1. The game. Another amazing episode I keep coming back to for a story that is perfect for comedy and actual tension. I love how this betrays the temptation to play this game after rediscovering it, and the cartoon logic being turned against him this time with the mysterious magical power it has. I like how it starts off fun and light-hearted with great bits like Richard driving a cup to the police officer and prank calling Yari. The way this keeps that level comedy but gradually gets worse and torments their life is great. The climax as a race to finish the game is so well paced that the audience invested in this silly plot. That your underreacting joke is very funny, alongside how creative the different dodges are, specifically Nicole getting thoughts I always get. The whole family being together and playing a game together is always such a fun concept, with the magic stakes resigned to it. Just one of the most unique and well-written Gumball episodes that I consider to be the best episode of Season 2. In conclusion, I hope you enjoyed this video discussing Gumball, as it is a show I really love discussing and sharing my opinions on. I now feel I want to do Season 3 soon, and probably the rest of the show too, although better seasons means it'll be hard to rank certain episodes yo. In the meantime, I have a couple of episodes reviewing certain Gumball episodes you to watch. I just somehow never talked about any Season 2 episode before. I also might want to do a rank all episodes of season of other shows, as it's a format I like, with ranking episodes of once being a bit too much for one video, if I want to give each episode enough discussion. There's a few other shows I think this format could work for, but we'll see how it goes and how much I feel like making videos later in the year. I have found recording a young video being a younger process recently. I still like taking time with videos and not wanting to rush one out. The end.